Hello, I see so many happy faces. Can you guys give me a wave? Some energy here. I thank you. I thank you for being in this space today. My name is Nina Frankie Holloman. I'm in the External Affairs Department of Crystal Stairs, and I will be your facilitator today. I am the Community Advocacy Coordinator for Crystal Stairs. And I have been in this position exactly 140 days. So I thank you for joining us today. I thank you so much for allowing us to take a moment of your time this morning. And please come join us on this advocacy journey. Next slide. Okay, at this time, I want to introduce those that will be assisting us today in this advocacy training. And in this order, you already met Javier Marone. If you want to say something, Javier, say hello. Wonderful. And then I want to introduce and come online our Venice Family Clinic family. You guys can jump on and say hello.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is
It looks like you muted.
Can you hear me?
There we go. We can hear you
Hi.
now.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you heard me. My name is Emily Sarasua. I am a parent advocate here at Children's First Early Head Start with Venice Family Clinic. I've been working in Head Start for 15 years, but I've been working with Venice Family Clinic on the Children's First Early Head Start program for about 3 years. So welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming this morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Cortez, and I work for the Venice Family Clinic Children First Early Head Start program. I am the Family Partnership Manager, and I've been employed with the clinic for the past 28 years. So welcome, everyone.
All right, and Isaac and Justin.
And let me get spotlighted here.
Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Isaac Cox. I'm the External Affairs Coordinator at Crystal Stairs. It's a pleasure to just work with you and spread the word about community voices and the importance of advocacy.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
good morning, everyone. This is Justin Blakely here. I'm the Public Policy Associate for Crystal Stairs. I'm so excited to be here. I'll let y'all know if I'm up at 9 a.m. with you all, that means we are going to have a really great time talking about advocacy, community voices. I have my coffee next to me, so let's get it started, Nina.
Yes, wonderful. And last but not least, I just want to send thumbs up, Patricia Walker. Thank you for being in the house. She is helping us in all things chat. So if you have any questions in the chat room, Patricia is the one that will get you the information that you need today. All right, let's get started. Okay, and one more thing, we likely have different locations, connection speeds, so making a quick back and forth conversation slightly more challenging. So please make sure to take your time, take deliberate, slight extended pauses between sentences to give others the opportunity to hear us simultaneously and translate and communicate responses. Okay, we're going to start off with a question. I want to ask you this morning how you're feeling in one word and type that word into the chat box. How you're feeling in one word. Go. Get those fingers moving. Blessed, great, energized, pumped, empowered. All right. Inspired. Okay. Wonderful. Amazing, grateful, excited, happy, thankful. All right. This is wonderful. Overwhelmed. Okay, Charmaine, we want to try to help you there so you're not feeling so overwhelmed. All right. Willing to grow. Okay. Anticipation. That's cool. Me too. Have a little bit of butterflies, but I'll get over it. Okay, wonderful. Okay, let's see. Okay, now that everyone's got their fingers going, okay, we want to do this is called a 10 fingers down activity. And how I got this is off of TikTok, and I thought it was really cool. So those that want to join us and want to be entered into the prizes, I need to see your faces to do this activity. So if you want to join us, please put yourself on camera right now, and I'll give everybody a chance. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Guadalupe. Thank you, Betty.
And we can stop
Thank
the
you for coming
PowerPoint.
on.
You can jump
Okay.
off of share so that we can, and if you can change your view to gallery view, this will allow us all to see each other.
Yes, please. Everyone. Aisha, I see you. Antonia, I see you. Antonio, I see you. Elizabeth Cuevas, I see you. Faye, Miss Dawson, I see you. Okay. All right. Miss McCray, I see you. Guadalupe, Monica. All right, here we go. Okay, this is called the 10 fingers activity. Okay, so everybody, let me see your fingers. All right. Everybody got fingers, toes, something. All right, let me see you. Okay, I'm going to ask a series of questions. When that pertains to you, okay, put one finger down. Okay, one finger down. Okay. All right, so hold your hands up so we can see your fingers. Okay, wiggle them. Let's see you wiggle those fingers. All right, just to get those chat hands together. Okay, this is the first question. Now, if it pertains to you or your situation, put a finger down, okay? First question, put a finger down if you have been on TV, Zoom not included, okay? Put a finger down if you have ever met your favorite celebrity, okay? Put a finger down if you've ever ridden a roller coaster at night. Okay. Put a finger down if you've ever been to our state capital, Sacramento. Okay. Put a finger down if you've ever accidentally worn your clothes in public inside out. I've done that too. All right. Put a finger down if you've ever looked at yourself or looked up yourself on Google. You look yourself, okay, let's see. All right. Put a finger down if you've ever been on a picket line or rally for a cause. Okay, let's see. All right. Put a finger down if you ever ate ice cream with a fork. Okay. They say if you eat ice cream with a fork, it tastes better. I've tried it, so it's pretty cool.
It's the
Okay.
proper way to eat ice cream.
Yes. All right. I believe that the spoon gets cold and it does something to your taste buds. Okay. I'm losing my thing. Put a finger down if you've ever performed in public. Wow, look at all these people with the fingers down. All right, I thought I was there's some really
I'm running out of fingers, Nina.
okay.
You have to, you have
And
to
this
roll-
is the last one. This should be the last one. Put a finger down if you dance in the dressing room mirror while trying on new clothes. All right, let me see how many fingers. Anybody got all their fingers down? Anyone got all their fingers down? Okay, if you have all your fingers down, put your name in the chat box. If you have all your fingers down, put your name in the chat box. All right, so yeah, that is what advocacy is all about. We have different experiences which shape who we are and how we see ourselves in the world. And today we want to explore all the ways we show up in the world as our own advocates. And that's what we want to do today. And thank you for indulging us with that. I thought it was pretty cool. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so we're on the 10 fingers down activity. We're going to what is an advocate? Okay, let's see. What is advocacy? What do you say advocacy is? Okay, Webster says that advocacy is the act or the process of supporting a cause or a plan. Okay, so it's the act or process of supporting a cause or a plan. Okay, now that we know the definition of an advocacy, um, and how different or alike our experiences are, let's take a word and a look at this advocacy. Let's take a look at that word because people say they're advocates, and I believe that everyone is a born advocate. You advocate for your family, you advocate for causes you believe in. And I think we all have these tools within us to do this work. Let's think about this word: act, a process, a cause, or a plan. And that involves some sort of action, right? A movement or something that's important to you as an individual. Would you agree? Thumbs up or finger snaps if you agree. Okay, so would you say that? Okay, next slide. All right, I want you to think of a time in your life that another human being advocated, stood up for you, or a cause you believed in. And I'm going to share my advocacy story on how I started this work. I have a Shiro in my life, and it's my grandma. And she was a grassroots organizer. We lived in New York City, New York. And at the time, we lived in these projects in Manhattan, in New York City called MEND. I come from a long line of women that are powerful and they speak their minds. Okay. So, what we were going through at the time, and I think I was maybe about 10 or 11 years of age, and I saw my grandmother speaking to other women in the community and found that they had painted our walls in all of our apartments with lead paint. And many of the children there were having all kinds of reactions. And as you know, lead is a horrible thing for children. Well, I saw my grandmother go from door to door asking people if they needed or wanted to sign her petition. And I mean, this was paper to a piece of paper. And she collected, in a month, I think about 500 signatures, went to our super, which was a short word for superintendent, and she took those signatures to the superintendent. In across the street from where our project was an attorney, and she spoke to the attorney, told them that we had a lot of individuals and children that were suffering from, what was happening was the paint was peeling off the walls actually and falling onto the floor, and children were taking the paint chips and putting them in their mouth. And since she had friends across the street at a hospital as well, we were able to advocate to get all of the apartments painted, redone, and painted in the building. So that kind of sparked something in me to understand that we all can advocate. I think we all have the power within ourselves to do that. And that's my journey as an example. And can I have the next slide? Okay, think of a person in your life that has been an advocate, okay? And on in your chat box, can you put the name of that individual, okay, that has been an advocate in your life? Yes, Justine, that is a big one. That is serious, definitely. Can anyone else share who's been an advocate in your life? I see moms. Okay. Millie Wilson, Kiana, your grandma. Yeah, my grandma was my Shiro for sure. Definitely. Yes. Doctors, of course. Mom. Yes. Anyone else? Moms and teachers. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, keep them coming. I want to see this. Who are those people in your life? Or you could be, it doesn't have to be family members. It can be, I know Maya Angelou. I've never met her, but she's a shiro of mine. Godmother, your spouse, definitely. Your therapist. All right, Perla. Tell the truth to shame the devil. Your BFF, our state and federal representatives, of course. These are all people that we hold attention for, something that elevated us. Okay. Right now on this slide, I want to uh, talk about some people here at Crystal Stairs. And from left to right in this photo is Mr. Count. He's our parent engagement specialist, one of our heroes here at Community Voices. Our policy council parent is here holding the briefcase. She won a laptop computer at our at our first event. I'm sorry. Aisa Cano, she's our family specialist services manager, and Itzel Morales, she's our parent engagement specialist. And these are people here at Crystal Stairs that are here for you and Community Voices, and a great team to work with. Next slide. Okay, and I want to introduce to you some really special Community Voices superstars. These individuals actually came out as just advocates, grassroots advocates, and wanted to help Community Voices educate, empower, and advocate. And one of our Community Voices superstars, which I wanted to just shine the light on, is Julia Ruedas. And she's a lifelong El Monte resident. She's experienced, dedicated, and passionate about children and education. She was a product of our local schools at Shipshire Elementary, Gidley School, and Rosemead High School. She holds a bachelor degree from Azusa Pacific University, and she got that while she was journeying with Community Voices. She's a current instructor from UC Davis. She successfully teaches and operates her own child development business. And her mission for 14 years, she's been on the grind 14 years to help our children and families in El Monte with no cost or low cost services. She's a volunteer, and she spent countless hours with child advocacy and community organizations. And these are the type of grassroots, just regular people, you and I, that get this work done on the daily. Next slide. Another one of our Community Voices superstars is Sydney Comlager. She was a spokeswoman for Social and Public Art Resources Spark in Venice, California. All those from Venice, let me see your hands up. Let me see you wave. Venice in the house. Okay. She was the public art director during the restoration of the Venice graffiti pit. And then after leaving Spark, she worked as an assistant to actor Delroy Lindo, and she worked as a public affairs director for Crystal Stairs. She was in my position. And then she organized and left Crystal Stairs. And then when she left Crystal Stairs, it was headed by Holly Mitchell. And currently she sits on the board of Planned Parenthood for Los Angeles. She's a staunch advocate for reproductive rights. And she worked on a campaign to elect Holly Mitchell to the State Assembly office. And now she also in 2018 represents California's 54th State Assembly District. So these are the types of individuals that come to Community Voices, assist us, help us to empower, assist us to advocate, and assist us to educate ourselves and others. And we have so much to learn from each other. And this is what Community Voices is all about. Next slide. Our next Community Voices superstar is Supervisor Los Angeles County Supervisor Holly J. Mitchell. And Holly J. Mitchell has a special uh, lifted voice here in Community Voices. She led Crystal Stairs in 2004 for 7 years. She promoted the birth of Community Voices. She wrote the first grant for Community Voices before serving on an all women led board of supervisors in the history of LA County. And Mitchell, she served for a decade in the California legislature as a representative for the 54th Assembly, uh, District Senate 30, District and the 30th Senate District, both in Los Angeles County. And these pop-ups are all over my screen here. Let me try to, I'm sorry, you guys, trying to get this out of here. It just covered my whole screen here with my notes. And during her tenure, she's passed over 90 bills, including a landmark and anti-hair discrimination law called the Crown Act. People couldn't wear their natural hair, like mine here. At work, they couldn't wear braids, they couldn't wear dreads, which is kind of ridiculous. And she was the first Californian in the nation to pass this law to end this type of discrimination. And Community Voices comes from a history of advocates. Will you be our next one? And that's a question. And yeah, Mata Howdy is wonderful. Met her as well. Yeah, she is one of our champions. So thank you for your input. I really appreciate that. Okay, so next slide. And we're trying to understand what advocacy is. And there's different types of advocacy. And you might tell yourself, I said, oh, well, how would I advocate? How would it be important for me to advocate? Well, advocacy is simple. It involves promoting the interests or causes of someone or a group of people. That could be someone in your neighborhood. That could be, you know, the children in your child care center around a cause. And an advocate is a person who argues for, recommends, or supports a cause or a policy. And advocacy is also about helping people find their voice. And there are 3 types of advocacy. And we want to look at all the ways that advocacy shows up in real life. This is not rocket science. And there's a quote that I really love about advocacy. And it goes like this: every important change in our society is for the good, at least has taken a place because popular pressure from below forms a great mass of people. And that's what we do. I mean, one of us, yeah, voice crying out in the wilderness, but I really believe that advocacy comes from a soul place and a place that, you know, you want to make change. You may not know how to do it alone, but together we can cause change and we can cause real effects to our lives and those around us. Next slide. And we want to talk about self-advocacy. And what is self-advocacy? What is this about? And that refers to an individual or your ability to effectively communicate, convey what you're trying to say, negotiate. A good person that's an advocate is a good negotiator. Why? Because, you know, we may not see eye to eye. We may not see things the way I may not see things the way Justin sees things, or I might not see the way things Jose sees things. But I really believe that that causes us to understand your strengths, your needs. You identify your personal goals. You know your legal rights, responsibilities, and you communicate that to others. And self-advocacy is speaking up for oneself. Would you say that that was a good definition of advocacy? And I have a thumbs up, a yes in the chat, so I can see. Yeah, someone that cares. Yeah, Rudy, of course, 100%. Yes, yes, it's important. You know, sometimes we have to find our voice. And I understand and believe that we assist one another in this process, in finding our voices. And sometimes they're there. We all just need tools. to enhance them, to polish them off, and to get it cracking. Okay. All right, next slide is our individual advocacy. And individual advocacy is a person or a group of people that concentrate their efforts on just one or two individuals. Okay. Advocacy is having someone to stand beside you. If you think something is unfair, if you think somebody's treating you badly, and if you'd like something to do about it, some way to change it. And there are two forms of advocacy. There's individual advocacy, which is informal, when parents, friends, family members, or agencies speak out and advocate for at-risk people. And I want to say underserved. These are titles that people put on urban communities, people that are underserved, but we have such a richness and such a vibrant way that we communicate, and that's all important in advocacy. And then formal advocacy is a more frequent type of advocacy, and it involves organizations that pay staff to advocate for someone or a group of individuals. And the answer to most of our concerns are in our circles of influence. And if we understand that our collective power and our collective, and I call it community intelligence, there's something about you as an individual that only you can do. You can't be, let's see, a cookie stamped, it can't be faked, you know, it comes from the essence of who you are and what you've experienced and gone through. And I always believe that the answers are in the room. Okay, we are the answers to the situations that befall us, the situations that have been thrust upon us, and situations that we have no control over, but the answers are in the room. And I ask that you be brave enough to ask, to seek, to question authority, to question why things are the way they are, and to challenge your own motivation. You know, sometimes we get into advocacy because, you know, we want to see something better or we're tired, okay? And we must respect our collective knowledge. There are people in this very chat room that are a wealth of information. And I believe everyone should be lifted to be heard. And sometimes we get it wrong. You know, we need to readjust our course in learning. After we learn a lesson, my grandma used to say, smart people always readjust their sails to understand that when we learn a lesson, that in that comes wisdom. And in that wisdom, we can share that with others if we're brave enough to, you know, show people that we're not perfect. And we here, right here, have all the tools we need. We have eyes, we have ears, we have a brain. Our individual will is needed to change realities that we live in. Next slide about our systems advocacy. Okay, this is a systems advocacy, and this is what we want to, this is like the brass tacks. It's about changing policies, rules, laws that impact how someone lives their lives. And these efforts can be targeted at local, state, or national agencies. And Justin Blakely will go into this a little bit further later on in our presentation, but the focus always is changing laws or simply written and unwritten policy. And what is targeted depends on the type of problem that it is and who has authority over that problem. Okay, so when people work to change what happens for a whole group or a community of people, it is called systems advocacy. Advocacy is taking action to help people say what they want and secure their rights, okay? They represent their interests as a whole at Community Voices, and we help to obtain services that our constituents, our brown, Black, Asian, our community needs. And I want you to remember that advocacy is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Okay, it's a marathon. And I want to share a story. And I was at a convention one time, and a mentor of mine, Chana Gray, she builds affordable housing for works, women organizing resources, knowledge, and services. And she told me this story, and it forever stuck in the back of my brain. And every time I think about advocacy, I think about this story, and I'm going to take the liberty, if you have it, to share with you. There was a beautiful, clear river with a waterfall where locals would go to think and to rest and to get away to relax their minds. And while seated at this riverbank, resting and thinking, the locals started noticing that babies were floating down this river alone. And they started fishing the babies out of the water one by one. But the babies kept coming, and soon there were many people fishing the babies out of the water. Finally, one person shouted in frustration, "That's it, I've had it," and walked away. Shocked, now shocked, someone called after her and said, "Are you walking away from the babies that need saving?" The woman turned and replied, "No, I'm going upstream to find out who is the fool that keeps throwing these babies in the river, and I'm going to stop this madness." And with that said, she turned and several others took up the river to support her. That's what advocacy is about. Okay. You see something going on, you see some madness, and what causes you to get up and stop the madness? What causes you to get up? Some righteous indignation to say, you know what? This is not cool, this is not right, and I'm going to do something about it. So this is a story, and when I heard that story, it really clicked for me, because we all have different positions in advocacy, and we all don't have to be the front speakers. We all don't, I mean, we can, some of us have a wonderful way with words. Some of us draw. Some of us know how to put things together. Some of us are, creative. We can make posters. Some of us are excellent at writing speeches. Everyone has a part in this. And those are our individual strengths. And when we come together, we're a powerful force to reckon with. Okay, next slide on how does community voices do systems advocacy. Okay, now we do this through education, educate. Okay, we educate through workshops, interactive trainings, experiences, and developmental opportunities. And that looks like the workshop that you're now, experiences that we're crafting for this year and next year. We empower members with facilitation encounters. We invite speakers, professionals in the legislative area to tell you how to empower yourselves and what to look for. And last but not least, we advocate. We advocate. We're advocates, okay? We raise. No one's going to do this for us. We raise the level of engagement with our policymakers and experts in childcare fields intentionally, okay? With strategies, with intent, and with legislative interactions. Okay, so here we go. We educate, we empower, and we advocate. Okay. Okay, our next slide. And I'm gonna probably need you to get your typing fingers up. Okay, Everyone does have the ability to advocate. Okay. Now, all of you here come with skill sets, come here with personal experiences. Now, I want you to, in the chat box, describe one that describes you. And these are some, words that I chose, but if you have your own, can you put that in the chat box for us? We all have advocated for ourselves or someone in our lives at one time or another. So let's see, inspiring. What is your power? Okay, what is your power? Cooking. All right, Aisha Foster. I like that one. Let's see, resilience. Yes, Jasmine. Creative, Bella. All right, yeah. I think I'm a little bit creative too. I know some of my colleagues here, they're super creative. I mean, that's their superpower. Vulnerability, yes, the ability to be vulnerable and empathize with people. Fortitude, amen. Faithful, oh, talk about it. A rebel, all right. I like that. I'm a bit of a rebel myself. Passionate, trying to help everyone. Intelligent and compassionate. Amelia, yes. Determination, yes. All of these things are needed. Advocacy is a lifelong process. Creative en los postres. Mira, yo como postre también. I eat postre. I love dessert. So sometimes I eat my dessert for my main course. Insightful, visionary, reliable. Yes, yes. Keep it coming. I love it. Advocacy is a lifelong process. It means that it's taking responsibility for communicating one's needs, desires in a straightforward manner to others. And that's a skill set, you guys. I mean, some people for them it comes easy. Some of us all want to get along with everyone, but sometimes we learn different skill sets and we learn from others' strengths. And it's a skill set that includes speaking up for yourself, communicating your strengths, needs, and wishes, being able to listen to the opinions of others. Okay, which is, I think in this day and time, we are really falling short. Some people are staunch in their ideas and they don't want to hear from people. And I think that puts us at a real great disadvantage when we can't even listen to not only listen just for the sake of listening, but listening to understand. And even when people's opinion differs from ours, we should give them, because they're human beings, the ability to let us know how they feel. And having a sense of self-respect, taking responsibility for yourself and the words you put out in the universe, knowing your rights and knowing where to get help or who to go to with questions and answers when you need help. And a lot of times, sometimes we don't have those mentors, all of us. I know I've had some beautiful mentors in my life, and I appreciate that because that's the only way I was able to learn and fail and pick myself up and keep going. So it's important. Yes, tenacity, determination. All right, Kiana. Yeah, available. Those are all tool sets that we already have. Okay, we've honed that. Okay, I always say that we come here the way we are, and then we just need some polish. Okay. So at this time, we're going to queue up a video, and I want you to just take a listen to this video. I saw this and something really clicked with me when I heard this. And I just thought that it would be, Nick, on the next slide, a wonderful way to talk about advocacy. And this is for your consideration.
Are we obliged to advocate? Whether you feel you can or you can't, you could or you should, I have 5 easy steps to guide you through your advocacy journey. 1, lock down those motivations. Advocacy at the core is a deeply embedded sense of purpose. For it's defined by an act that aims to influence the decisions within social, economic, and political systems and institutions. No small act. And if done right, it's a life's work. 2, establish some role models. Tanya Hash is an Australian rules football executive. However, she wants to see Aboriginal people represented in the Australian Constitution. Malala Yousafzai was shot in the head at 15 years old going to school. She lived to receive the Nobel Prize. Elon Musk wants to build a city of 1 million people on Mars, while Brian Stevenson represents young black men, young black boys in America's criminal justice system. Products of mass incarceration on an astronomical scale, similar to the incarceration rates of Aboriginal males in Australia. Brian's grandmother was born a slave, yet Rosa Parks told him that his life's work was going to make him tired. 3, understand your historical context. My grandfather took my mother to sit-ins in Chicago in the 1960s. If you're not familiar with sit-ins, that's where a group of people would go to a place like a restaurant or a cafe or a library and sit, hoping to be served, usually humiliated and unceremoniously shown the door, and potentially arrested. My father was killed in police custody in 1987. I was 8 years old, and he was unarmed. My stepfather spent 30 years in a major American corporation, marginalized in middle management, dutifully providing for a middle-class family in middle America. And to me, I represent the first generation born with the entitlements of civil liberties that we all understand as basic human rights: voting, education, access to crappy diner food. Focus, that's number 4. Focus those benefits of your historical context. Focus those beliefs and those observations. Now, I'm a sports administrator, and I do believe in the power of sport as a viable and extremely constructive tool for social, political, and economic engagement. You? What do you believe in? Now, we can sit back and let those beliefs simmer, or we could challenge them. I prefer to sit back. Let you reveal yourself. Let your sincerities surface, and let the venom bubble over if that's the case. And as far as observations, whether it's a right or a privilege or a choice or an obligation, it doesn't really matter. It's all about perception. Because what's a right up close can be perceived as a privilege from afar. Number 5, a way forward. I stood on the shoulders of a middle manager and I saw a way. I couldn't stomach another 50 years for an incremental step forward. Now, some of you are different. You're probably more selfless. You could commit your life for minimum recognition, minimum reward, operating under common misconceptions and distorted perceptions. Are we obligated to advocate? I don't know. But hopefully now we understand how to. You lock in those motivations, make them unshakable. You establish some role models or become one yourself.
Wow.
You understand your historical context and the histories of people around you. You focus all those beliefs and all those observations to push a way forward. More simply put, as an advocate, first, you take a step in, and then you take a few steps back, and then you step up. Now, many of you, you may not need anyone to speak up for you. You may not need anyone to understand your perspective. But if you do, and you can't find the words, you don't have the voice, tell me about it. Tell somebody, because we're all advocates. Thank you.
So if that resonated with you, put yes in the chat box, no in the chat box. This was something that really shook me up when I heard it. And I think many times as people that are involved in helping raise the temperature, sometimes we need motivation too. And this really motivated me, and I hope it motivated you as well. Okay. Yes, Aisha, please show that to your children. Yeah, we're hand clapping. All right, thumbs up. Does everybody know how to use their emojis? Let me hit me with an emoji. Try to change the temperature in this room. Come on now, give me an emoji. I can't see your face, but can I have an emoji here? We need some love here. Let's see. All right. Thank you, Juana. Thank you. Thank you, T. Scott. Carla, I see your stars. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Mary Lee. Thank you, Miss Dobson. I see your, all right, your muscle thing. Yes, thank you. That's working for me. I like that one. I love emojis. They need to have some, some flavorful ones. I don't know, some of the emojis are kind of dry. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm an in-person kind of person. So this to me, it's good because we can communicate, but it's kind of informal. I walk around the room and I touch people, and I that's me. So I'm learning Zoom, and I'm learning how to actually communicate in these spaces. All these people in boxes, and that's strange for me because I'm like a hands-on kind of person. You want to go to the next slide. Tools that we would like to introduce to you in Community Voices. And these are tools that we want to promote. And you're probably wondering what lived experience is. And the definition of lived experience is a person's firsthand experience of living in a particular place. Can you guys just give me in the chat room where you live, maybe the city, so I can see where you guys are from? That would help me a lot. Let's see. I'm from Inglewood. Anybody from Inglewood, Venice, Long Beach? All right, Paramount in the house. K-Town, yeah. Compton, oh, Rialto, Palmdale. See, look, we're from all over the place. Strong Beach, West Adams, Hawthorne, LA, Paris, Inglewood, Los Angeles, South Central, LA, West Adams. Wonderful. Yeah, so we're from all over. You know, we all have lived experiences, and a person's firsthand experience of living in a particular place, a person's first lived experience will be made up of their thoughts, their feelings, opinions, and attitude toward the place that you live. And no one can, talk about that more than you. And a person's lived experience is significant because it can impact a person's attachment to a place and will alter their level of engagement in that place. So, for example, when I lived in public housing, my parents came from public housing. My parents moved from Puerto Rico, which my parents are from, to New York City. Total different vibe from New York, from Puerto Rico to New York. And then we moved into a project at the time. And my grandmother always would tell me something. She says, "You may not live here, you may not be of here, and you don't have to act like everyone else. Okay. You elevate yourself. Sometimes situations and circumstances put us in places that we may not want to be, but you're not always of the place. You can create your own realities around what you want to see in the world. And we want to promote collective and individual well-being, growth, and success while we're together at Community Voices. We want to focus on our strengths, and we want to also improve our potential, okay, because all of us have it. And we want to develop and respect each other in our positive racial identities and skill sets, okay? All people from Puerto Rico are not the same. All African Americans are not the same. All Salvadoreños are not the same. All Cubanos are not the same. All Mexicanos are not the same. We all come from a different place, and that's important in our advocacy. And we want to make it plain in the language that we speak and in our different literacy levels. And I heard a parent say this, and it kind of blew my mind. She told me, "Nothing about us without us." Okay. We ask for parent input and active participation. And that's why I'm asking everyone. Okay, Lord, she's from Puerto Rico. Wepa, hey, fellow Puerto Rican in the house. I kind of got excited when I saw that. Okay. We want to center on our cultural values, which are important, our traditions and inspirations of Black and brown and yellow people, persons of color. And we want equitable distribution of resources. Crystal Stairs has many resources that you can glean from, and learning opportunities for each participant. And with that said, I really want you to think about joining Community Voices and lending your lived experience to us, because it's valuable in the work we want to do and we will continue to do. Let's see, Banning, Hollywood, Hawthorne. All right, we have people from all over the place. This is wonderful. Okay, and then at this time, we want to, and I want to ask my illustrious colleague, Justin Blakely, to come in here.
We talk about Sacramento. I think even Nina in the 10 finger activity where I was, after probably she went through 5 of them and somehow only had 2 fingers left. I don't know how. But she talked about any of us who've been to Sacramento. Any of us who've been to Washington, D.C. I was just there over the past week. And so we have this, this process of how a bill is introduced, how it goes through committees, it goes through the House, if we're talking about the federal legislative side of things, and that's Congress, right? And then we have the Senate. But I really want to kind of focus us in on how the state level of the system of how a bill becomes law works, because I think that is more concrete to some of the realities and the many things that we're faced with today in our communities right here in California, but LA County and our cities like Compton, Los Angeles, Paramount. I saw a bunch of other cities, Long Beach, K-Town, a bunch of other cities that are represented here. And so I'll be very brief with it, but we have bills that come through all the time. And one of the bills that I know that we talk about often is bills that are really elevating early education, child care providers, our parents, and most importantly, our working families as a whole. And we're trying to really here at Crystal Stairs, and what we all are trying to do as a community is move our families to self-sufficiency while also enriching the lives of our children, right? And so, a bill is introduced, right? And it goes through committee hearings, and so with a committee hearing for a bill that we would have in early education, it would go, say if it starts in the assembly, right? A bill is introduced in the assembly. It would start in the assembly, it would go through for instance, the Assembly Health and Human Services Committee. Then we go through the Assembly Education Committee, and you get the kind of point of where we're going through, right? And then as you see, it'll take you to floor action, right? And for those of us who don't know what floor action is, that essentially means that once it passes through these smaller committees where they're vetting it, they're saying, let's do this, let's take this out. Maybe this will make it more equitable. And a lot of times in those committee hearings is where our advocacy comes in, right? And so me as a public policy associate for Crystal Stairs, me being just an ECE advocate for all of us in the state of California, like all of us are on this call, we're all ECE advocates, right? During those committee hearings, we actually are getting opportunities to come and speak on behalf of certain bills, the whole just landscape of where we are as a state and as a county, LA County, or as we are as in our respective cities with early education, and really talking about and really illuminating the many inequities we're faced with. A large, push we were trying to do this year was really how do we increase our childcare provider wages, right? We know that early education is essential to how our children are developing and how they move through our education system. But if we don't have our educators, our specialized educators, right? They're like no other, and they cannot be moved anywhere else, right? We know that our early educators, our childcare providers are very important, and they need to be paid for and compensated for the amount of talent and the amount of investment they give to not only our children, but our communities, right? And so we have committee hearings, right? And we get to speak on those things. We get to advocate on behalf of why it's so important, right? When we're talking about different things that have to do with, I know a really hot topic that we were able to extend for another year was the waiving of family fees for another year. It'll be waived until 2023, but that was something we had to advocate for, right? We had to really push for. We had to go to committee hearings and talk to our assembly members. We had to talk to our state senators and tell them why it was so important that we really move these things forward because we know our legislators need to be able to be educated on why these issues are so important. So really quickly, I'll just say again, floor action is, say if it's an assembly bill, you'll hear like AB 92. And that's the bill that essentially was talking about waiving family fees. So if AB 92 goes through committee hearings, it's getting heard at the Health and Human Services Committee, then it goes to the Assembly Education Committee, so on and so forth. It passes through all those. It doesn't die on the in committee, right? Then it will go to floor, and then if it's supported, it moves to the other house, and then it goes through the vetting process there. If it doesn't, if it gets all the support it needs, it then moves to the bill moves to the governor's desk, which at the end of the budget cycle, the end of the legislative season, it then moves to be signed into law, or we do see bills get vetoed. And a veto doesn't necessarily mean it, the movement and the push for getting a certain specific piece of legislation recognized as a law. It doesn't necessarily mean it just totally dies. It just means we got to go back in there again and fight for what we know we equitably need for our early education system. So I just want to briefly gloss over that. Want to quickly highlight the timeline because believe it or not, you see 12 months here, but and I see a couple of my colleagues on this call, and for us, and I'm sure for all of us in the room, is although it's a year, it feels like 2 minutes that passes by when we're in this legislative season. I can't believe July is about to end in what 3-4 days. And so as you can see, we're in July, right? We're in summer recess mode. And this is what we mean when our California legislators are back in the district, right? And so I saw that we have a state senator, Sidney Comlager, who Nina mentioned. We have Supervisor Holly Mitchell, who is although on the county level, but for example, we have legislators, state legislators who are back in their districts, right? And so this is when we're able to connect with them in district. When they're the legislative session is in actual session, they are actually Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday in Sacramento, and then they come back on the weekends. And so in July and right before August begins, this is a really great time for them to come and see our child care provider, centers or family child care homes or different things that we have going on, right? We have Head Starts, right? And then, once we move to September, October, November, December, this is when we're starting to getting to really where our advocacy starts to pick up for the next legislative season, right? And then where really things pick up is in the beginning of next year, right? January, the legislature convenes. The governor has pretty much gotten a lot of feedback and kind of heard from people in that fall to winter time. So he presents his January budget. We look at it as advocates across the state, and then we say, okay, I hear this, I hear that. We need a little bit more investment here. So then we go back and we look at the May revise, right? And the May revise is when we start to see a lot of changes happen. And then between May and June is when, again, a lot of craziness happens. But, really what I want to illuminate is that we are really always sticking to a timeline that is moving very fast. And so whenever we call our community voices advocates, whenever we are calling just advocates of early education, right? Even not just in community voices, it happens very quickly, but we are so appreciative when you guys are jumping on and coming on to these times when we really need advocates to be able to be at the table with us. Because I always like to make the thing of, they'll get tired of seeing us doing the work on our end, so we need to see more of the people who are actually entrenched in the work, or those who are working families, a parent that is actually impacted by family fees not being waived, for example, right? So I'll keep going. So just a quick highlight of our state budget, right? The state budget was passed on June 30th, as you can see. I don't know if any of us have heard, but we've had the largest budget in state history, right? And a lot of this was due to a lot of the federal money that came in, during the height of COVID. We had a lot of excess money poured in, and a lot of that is helping to decrease inflation. I know for me personally, gas is just too ridiculously high, right? Inflation is crazy right now, and we're all going through it, right? It's not just one of us, it's all of us, right? We're all impacted. And so a lot of the things that have been invested in by the governor is really to figure out how we can be able to mitigate some of those things. But we're here for childcare. We're here to talk about early education. And so the budget includes 128.6 billion in the K through 12 system. But more importantly, there's investments in the early education system that really kind of highlight us. And I mentioned one of them, waiving family fees, for example, for another year, right? Increasing or allowing the opportunity for providers not to be funded based on attendance, but the maximum enrollment. So as long as we have maximum enrollment of children in our family childcare homes, our centers, right, our providers are being paid. But we know a lot of these things there's still a lot of inequitable policies that are still in place, or a lot of policies that we need to see in place to make the early education system more equitable, especially as we look at the landscape of our early education system, the professionals in it, which are Black and brown women, who are disproportionately underpaid. And this isn't just during COVID. This isn't just right pre-pandemic 2019. No, this is historic, right? And so we are really moving to really look at how are we intentional about making sure that in this next budget season, which, you know, again, this advocacy that we talk about, it doesn't die down. It still begins day one as soon as the governor signs that budget into play for this next upcoming year, or this current fiscal year we're in. We're still advocating for the next following year, right? The advocacy does not stop. And so what I really want to also talk about is how the federal budget and what's going on in Congress, what's going on in DC is really informing the work that we're doing here in the state, right? And so it's been, and if you heard about Build Back Better, right, BBB, right, we've heard that that was where we were going to get a lot of almost over 400 billion that was proposed to go to childcare, and this was months and months ago. Unfortunately, it died in terms of that negotiation of moving it forward, but there's new proposals coming into the table, and although they aren't as at the same level as they were as previously proposed. Here's what you know, the proposal now is talking about when we talk about our child care proposal for federal legislation, which is through the Child Care and Development Block Grant, and right, CCDBG, right? And this is really the essential account for where our federal government puts in that child care funds that then is dispersed to all of our states, right? And based on your state, and that's really based on the population you have in your state, you know, shows the methodology of how much funding you get. So naturally, California, as one of the largest states in the nation, will you know, most oftentimes get a lot of that money, or a good portion of that money, right? Since we are a large state. And so what the proposal is now, right, is really 18 billion, right, to increase the, you know, childcare supply, improve facilities. Something that I talked about just a moment ago, increasing the compensation for our early childhood educators, right? This isn't just something that we're talking about on the state level, but this is something we're really pushing for in our federal advocacy too. It just doesn't stop at the state and local level. We're going to DC and carrying these same policy priorities, right? Also, how do we expand our high quality preschool programs for 3 and 4-year-olds, right? And what that really translates to is ensuring a mixed delivery system, right? Parental choice, right? And we're ensuring that that is something that is included in our federal investment, that proposal that is coming down. And so hopefully those things get passed. And obviously you see 12 billion over 6 years to raise wages for Head Start teachers and staff. So I talked about advocacy, right? I talked about Sacramento. And so this is Nina, one of our, and then Nina, we all know Nina, but we also see Judith Terrell, who's a real community voices champion. And Judith Terrell is a really great friend. She was with us in Sacramento, and you know, again, as I said earlier, you know, people hear us talk all the time, right? They're expecting to hear us talk about what's the policy priorities, what's going on. Judith Terrell has been serving children and families in the Los Angeles community for over 20 years, right? And so when she's coming to the table with us to talk to our legislators, to talk to stakeholders, right? It's not just even the legislature. We're talking to all stakeholders in Sacramento, right? And even on the local level here in LA County, hearing that perspective from someone who is a expert on, you know, early education and knows the ins and outs of what's going on is so important, and it's very critical to hear from them. So although I say, and I elevate Judith for her work and how she came with us to Sacramento, we want more people to come to Sacramento with us. And that is the conduit, that's the vehicle of which Community Voices is bringing real people, real life experiences to Sacramento, to DC, and to all over to make sure that we're advocating for the most essential things that are needed to not only keep our early education system stabilized, but how do we advance it? How do we move it forward in a most equitable way that is really serving our Black and Brown communities, which is where we are most reflective of who need that help, because disproportionately, we know the historical underinvestments in our community, right? And so grassroots, right? And so when we talk about a grassroots movement, it is very important that, we can go to Sacramento, right? We can go to Sacramento, we can be there and we can talk about why advocacy is so important, but it's really important that we mobilize, right? And so what's grassroots movement even in today and even what's happening right now? Unfortunately, as we have been dealing with COVID for over 2.5, pretty much 3 years, we're about to come up on the grassroots movement, excuse me, does not stop. And it really speaks to how are we able to organize ourselves. So listen, I say this right now as an example of how we are grassroots organizing, right? It's us being able to educate one another, right? Although we're presenting you with a PowerPoint and different things that we are, bringing to you all here on this screen. It's also important that you guys it's a call and response, right? Essentially, you're providing insight to us, right? I cannot be able to speak on behalf of anyone or even our community in general in the early education field if I'm not hearing from what those who are actually doing the work with our children, our families, actually hearing from our parents, right? We cannot be able to move in our work if we're not able to collectively come together and know what's going on, and how do we able to bridge those, be able to come together and make sure we have those bridges that come together, right? And so this is a part of that grassroots movement, right? And I like what Nina said, it starts with really moving from the bottom and coming up, right? Those who are on the ground level, who know what's actually going on. You all are the real subject matter experts on really what we need to elevate, to not only stabilize, but to move forward and advance our work in early education and childcare as a whole. So it's really important. And I'm going to emphasize one more time that, in these type of environments, it's really important that we come together as community. Every thought, every opinion, every take, everything that you are thinking right now that is you believe will contribute to us moving onward and upward, it's extremely important that you communicate it. Your voice matters. It may sound cliche, but it's absolutely true. Your voice is absolutely important to how we move this work forward. And then I want to just briefly, as I kind of conclude on my slides, talking about what we as a nonprofit, 501c3 Crystal Stairs can do and not do. And, obviously we can't lobby, but we are what we call policy advocates. I consider myself a child care advocate, right? And so what we always like to do is just talk about why it's so important that we need you all at the table with us, right? And you see, obviously, in the green, what we can do. We've done all of that this year, right? We've talked about how we want you, to, support, how we're really trying to make sure that we're raising awareness and we really get our governor and the state legislature to increase our provider wages, right? They cannot continue to be, paid at the levels they are, and to believe that we can sustain the high level of service that they provide to our children and our families as a whole, right? We sponsored and supported bills, right? I talked about the waiving of family fees, right? Maximum, reimbursement based on enrollment and not the amount of attendance, right? A host of other large policy bills in early education that we talk about. Example of what we can do. If you may or may not know, we have about 8 to 10, I want to say I'm leaning toward 8 propositions that'll be on the ballot in November, right? Absolutely, we're going to have a lot of programming on voter registration, right? And the importance of voting. However, we cannot tell you what position to take on propositions, but we can encourage you to make sure that you are voting, right? Because voting is essential, and it's really one of the the foundational pieces of how we are able to get our voices heard in this current system that we are currently in. And it's really important that we really exercise our right to vote. It's really important that we are raising awareness. It's really important that we're educating, empowering, and advocating for not only ourselves, but our entire community. And so that's my last slide. But again, as we continue to engage this work, continue to walk in inspiration, continue to walk with a sense of hope that we are going to really move things forward. Although we were not able to secure everything that we've needed in our, policy priorities in this past legislative session, it's really important that we walk with our head held high and we really kind of lean into the work, because there's a lot more to be done. But I know that if we do it as community, if we do it in a communal way, we will really get what we need for our providers, our children, and our families. And so I want to pass it back to you, Nina, and thank you all for your time.
Yes, Justin, thank you. Can we get a hand snap, a finger snap, a pop, or something, okay, for Justin? Show him some love. Let me give him some emojis here. Give him some love. Yes, thank you, Justin. Hope that gave you just a preview of our process. I say assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Community voices need your input to continue to understand. We don't only survive, but we thrive. Parents and a community advocate once told me that there should be nothing about us without us. And that's true. I mean, how can we do this work without your input and your wisdom? Now I want to go to the poll, Justin, because I know we only have 10 minutes. If we can go to the poll, and this is an informal poll. We just kind of want to get the temperature. Does everyone see the poll? If you see the poll now, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, thumbs up, everybody. Thumbs up. Gloria, all right. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you, Florencia, for the thumbs up. T. Scott, thank you for Trinice. Thank you for the thumbs up. Mr. McCray, Justine, thank you. Good looking out. Stephanie Hicks. Okay, all right. Now, with this poll, this is informal, okay? What are some of the issues that are a concern for you and your family right now? Now this is really informal, y'all. So we were just trying to do this quickly because we only have a little bit of time together in the space. But choose the top 3 and place it in the chat box. So this is the cost of food, A, safety of my children at school, B, unlimited childcare choices, C, near my job or home, the cost of housing for my family, D, E, the cost of childcare, F, a lack of transportation, G, cost of gas, H, lack of internet service, the cost, I, cost of overhead to run my childcare business, J, an inability to pay a living wage to my childcare professionals, K, lack of resources, support to run my childcare business, L, support to return to school or work, M, my immigration status, and N, you can type in other. So I'll give everybody a chance to weigh in. A, C, and G. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Alina. Perla, thank you. T. Scott. Judy, thank you for weighing in. Diane Wilkerson, thank you. Lourdes, thank you. Trinice, thank you. Aisha, good looking out. That's right, Justine. These go hand in hand. That's right. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. All right. Hey now. Yeah, see, this is interactive, and I love you guys for doing this. I mean, we really need to hear from you. It's important.
So take a minute, guys, and make sure that you put down Nina's email there and
Uh-huh.
Frankie Holloman at crystalstairs.org. If you were one of the 5, I believe, people that won, shoot Nina an email.
Yes, and we have some wonderful gift cards. So what I'll do is I will reach out to you personally, and because we have an array of gift cards, and I will ask you which one you'd like. Okay. All right. So let's do that today. Get that to me. Congratulations to the winners. Yes, Cassandra. And Isaac just put that in the chat.
I put the
Okay.
jot form link for the survey in the chat.
Yes, the survey, please click on that survey. We want your feedback on how it went today so we can do this again in the future. I am hoping that this COVID thing doesn't get out of control so we can meet you in person. And within the next couple of weeks, we'll be sending out another invite for another advocacy encounter and see how you can get involved.